Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the What Can I Do with Conga Composer webinar. This webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series. Today we'll explore some of the popular Conga use cases and introduce you to some of our alliance partners and have them share some of their use case stories for using Conga. I'm Teresa Bowerly and I'll be the moderator for today's session. Before we get started, let's go ahead and do a little housekeeping. The entire webinar is slated to last for about 30 minutes. We do have a lot of registrants, so everyone's phones will be on mute. If you do have questions, please submit them online. We may not be able to answer your questions in today's session, but we will be sending out a follow-up email with FAQs and a link to the presentation. This webinar is being recorded. We'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel and in our knowledge base. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Shelley Houlihan, who will be taking you through this session. Shelley has over 4 years of experience here at Conga as a senior business analyst and is looking forward to sharing some Conga use cases and case studies with you. Shelley?
Hi everyone. As Teresa said, my name is Shelley Houlihan, and I have been absent from the United States and from Conga in the US for the last few months. I was on assignment in Australia, so I am so happy and very eager to be on today's webinar and being able to interact a bit with customers and partners back in the saddle, if you will. So I think we have a really good lineup today, and you guys will be able to see some varied solutions and really creative requirements and solutions as well that the clients and the partners have come up with. So I was a business analyst here at Conga up until a few weeks ago, and I've recently moved over to join Teresa's team, the Learning and Development team, so you may hear me a bit more on these webinars going forward. And again, just really happy to be here and share with you guys today. So we're going to start off, I'm just going to show you guys some of our resources available on the website, and those include use cases and case studies. And then we'll get into the actual solutions that our alliance partners have to share with us today. So just a moment, and I'm going to get into my Firefox screen here. So I'm on the Conga website, which is just congamerge.com, and I've clicked this Use Cases tab up here at the top. You can see that you can navigate here through all these various industries or examples from the top, and then there's icons to do the same once you're on the page. So if we wanted to see all of the work order examples, we could click through to that. This is a great way to see some examples of what other customers have done with Conga Composer. Or another option, again, is if you prefer to scroll or search by industry, you can do so. So if you're in government, you could click through to that category and then see the various use cases that we have according to that industry. So it will give you an overview of what the use case is. They were doing account plans or executive briefs, what the functional area was, the output format. So again, the Microsoft icons are being used, green for Excel, blue for Word, and so forth. And then which products were used in that specific case. The other tool that we have that I really like is, I'm just going to click through to this other tab. I've already got it loaded. But if you, again, are on our website and go to Customers and then Case Studies, these are much more specific than the use cases that I just showed you all by example and industry. So you could, for example, scroll through and see that Delta Airlines achieved more than $645,000 in annual savings. That sounds pretty compelling. And then you can see, again, their industry. This is a little bit small on my screen, but if I pump that up, it's business services, and they were doing reports and charts. But what's really cool is you can click through to this using that green hyperlink, and it will download this PDF, and you can read this one-page overview about how they used Conga Composer to satisfy their requirements, what Conga solutions they used, the benefits. So that's a pretty neat tool as well. And again, those are all available on our website. Lastly, I just want to show you all the partner page on our website, since we are working with our alliance partners today for them to show you those examples. We have a partners tab. If you click that, you'll be taken to this page that I'm on, and you can either search for a consulting partner or an app partner. Or if you happen to be a partner yourself and you're interested in joining our alliance partner program, that's what that gray guy is on the right side. So if I was interested in finding someone to do my template work for me, for example, you can click on Consulting Partners and scroll through and see some of our partners that we've worked with in the past. These are all people who have great Conga experience and know the ropes and can help you solve your requirements and make recommendations. We have a really great partner community, so that's a great resource on our website. Right now, I'm going to jump back into our PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to get started with our first presenter from our partner group, and that is Tom McVeigh from CRM Manager. So CRM Manager has been with us for quite a while. They have quite a few Conga deployments under their belt, and I'm going to pass it over to Tom so he can explain a bit about what their client requirement was and how they solved that.
Actually, good evening and good afternoon to some of those that are on different coasts. I'm out here on our East Coast. I was actually hoping that we could have our consultant, Dick Moore, go through this a little bit more technically for the individuals today. I could kind of speak on more of a high level, but Dick would kind of be able to get into more of the nitty-gritty and really explain exactly what we can do and how we can help you with things such as Conga.
Tom, that's great. Whoever you'd like to speak, that is great. So is Dick in the registered in the webinar? Or are you guys there in a conference room together?
He is registered in the webinar, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to have Teresa unmute him so he'll be able to speak. Just a moment here, folks, and we'll do that. And he's registered under his own name. Is that right, Tom? It's Dick Moore?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll just find him here in the list. Sorry, folks, just one moment. Okay, so Dick, you should be able to speak now.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I'm going to let you two take.
Okay, this is Dick Moore from CRM Manager, and if you can move on to the next slide, we'll talk about the solution that we use for Conga. I've actually done this more than once. It's a way of generating variable proposals from the opportunity object in Salesforce. So if you have a company that sells services and which are defined as products in opportunities in Salesforce, and each product can require anywhere from a paragraph to a full page in your proposal describing what that service is and what's included in the details and so on. And the client wanted to be able to generate that document, that proposal document, automatically just based on what was in Salesforce. So the solution is that we defined a master proposal document in which we included the description for every product that they offer. So if they had 25 different products, then there were 25 different sections in this one document, and that becomes the Conga document. We had a separate report for each one of those products, which is then filtered by the opportunity ID and the product, so that if you run the report and that product is not included on that opportunity, then that report will be blank. So when you link all those reports to the Conga proposal button, then what happens when you run Conga is it runs all of those reports in the background, and then it can figure out from that which sections of the master proposal document need to be included in the proposal you're generating for this particular opportunity, because as you see in D there, in the master proposal document, those sections that are the description for each product have some special Conga commands wrapped around them in front and afterwards to enclose that, to say only include this portion of the document in the output proposal if the report that's linked for this particular product is on the opportunity, if that report has at least one record. So what you get is, let's say you had 10 different products, and for a particular opportunity you had product 1, 3, and 7 that were supposed to be part of this proposal. Well, when you generate the Conga document for 1, 3, and 7, it sees that the report has a row of data, so it includes the description for products 1, 3, and 7. The descriptions of the other products are not included because there's no data in the report, because there's no product linked to the opportunity for those services. So every possible combination of however many products you have linked to your opportunities can be generated with one master document that is uploaded via Conga. And then you could also have at the end a summary page where you'd show all the products. You'd need another report for this, but you'd show all the products that are linked to the opportunity and their prices and totals and so on. So that's pretty much what it does. It's using the fact that you added certain products to the opportunity to define which sections of your proposal document, your master proposal, should be included for a particular opportunity.
That sounds great, Dick. Are you guys using mostly Word templates to accomplish this?
Yes, primarily when I've done this, it is with Word templates.
Okay, so I imagine you might be using like the table hide feature, or just dynamically filtering on those reports to display or hide that data based on those products. Is that right?
I think it's table start and table end, but if there's no data in the report, then that whole table start to table end commands makes that section not appear.
Exactly. Okay, very good. So for the attendees on the phone today, what Dick is describing is a behavior that not everybody is aware of within Conga Composer, and that is if you're using a Word template and you're calling out to report or query data with your table start and table end fields, that the default behavior of Conga is if that particular report or query does not return data, that section of the document, whatever is between those table starts and table ends, will be hidden. So that's a really great way that CRM Manager and Dick and Tom have come up with for their client to make that one template work for whatever that opportunity situation is. So if they have 25 products, then it shows those, but if they need all 50 of those, then it can expand to accommodate that. So anything else that you or Tom wanted to add there, Dick?
I don't think so. That's a good summary of how it works.
Okay. Great. Well, if you guys have any questions for Tom and Dick, we're going to have their contact information up again at the end of the PowerPoint, and you can always submit questions directly to them, or if you send those to us, we'll make sure to pass them along if you're interested in learning a bit more about that. Next up, we have Deepa Patel from Halak Consulting. So Deepa has also been with us for quite a while. You might have seen her on Twitter. She's pretty active. I see her popping up in my feed pretty regularly, and she has a great solution for us as well today. So I'm going to pass it over to Deepa, and she can explain this particular solution that she built.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I'm Deepa Patel with Halak Consulting. I'm also a Salesforce MVP, and I've been working with Conga for quite some time now. And we can go to the next one.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
That's enough of an introduction. So I've got two different solutions that I'm going to present to you. One was with a fairly big company, and the business problem was they wanted a report to come out of Salesforce in an Excel spreadsheet, and they wanted where their data was summarized not only by region, but within region they wanted the reports to be summarized by a particular stage where the deal was, and the most important requirement was each region had to be a separate tab or a separate sheet within the Excel worksheet So it's one Excel workbook with multiple sheets that was all the different regions. And within that, each stage has to be grouped. And so the way we designed this template is we had to run 25 different queries, and then we compiled all of that and brought it into our template that we built. Plus, they needed a very particular color coding for each group that was defined. So this is the way they did reports before, and they wanted it exactly the way they did it by hand. And we were able to accomplish that with Conga, and you can see here we've got US, China, India, Europe, and the rest of the world, and all the stages are defined by the groupings. And in the template, I'm showing you a column that we've hidden because they not only wanted the stages, but they wanted them described in the terms that they understand, which, like, you know, it was term sheet, it was D3, you know, those were their stages. So Teresa, can we show them the end result of what it looks like? Because this is real client data, I had to do a lot of scrubbing, but this is the Excel spreadsheet that they get. And this report is emailed to everyone once a week, and we use Conga Conductor for that. We set up Conga Conductor so that this Excel spreadsheet can be emailed to everyone. So literally they don't have to do anything. They don't have to click on a button, nothing. You know, automatically the report gets emailed to them every Friday evening or every Saturday morning, and they get to see their results. The next scenario that we have is where we were working with a property management company, and they needed to get a contract or a rental contract out to their tenants that are coming to rent any of their properties, and they manage multiple different properties. So in this scenario, we needed to build a document that was both landscape, portrait, and it had images in it, and a fillable W-9 in there with all the W-9 information. So the way we built this template, and what Teresa was talking about earlier, where we had the table start and table end properties, we had to build this into the tables that we used to format the document so that when it was rendered, it looked exactly the way their original lease document looked like. And you can, I've done screenshots, just a little snapshots of the entire document. The document was a 13-page long document. You can see here where there are not only images, but also links that they can click on that would take them to their sites where they can go in and collect their payments. So can we show the end result, Teresa?
Yeah.
So this is what the document that is generated looked like. So we had built a custom object for them called a tenant. And so anytime a new tenant came on board, they would click on the tenant button, and the document was automatically produced, automatically downloaded, and all they got is a pop-up that says, save this document, and they could then save it to their drive, print it out, or even save it as a PDF after they got done reviewing the Word document, and then email it to the client. So 2 different business cases, 2 different scenarios, one where we used an Excel output, and this is where we used a Word output. Thank you, Teresa.
Great, great. So one thing that Deepa mentioned that folks on the phone might not be as familiar with is Conga Conductor, when she was talking about her first solution with the Excel spreadsheet, the reporting that was summarized by region and stage. And that's a batch processing tool that's an add-on to the main app we have called Conga Composer. So with Conductor, you have the ability to run multiple Conga solutions at once. So for example, rather than Deepa's client having to go in record by record and generate that report for each account or whatever that object was running off of, they could use a Salesforce list view or a Salesforce report or a SOCL query to determine which records they would want in their batch, and then Conga Conductor would run the Conga Composer solution for all of those records. So it's a real time saver and a great solution if you have big volumes of documents that you're doing. We do offer a free 30-day trial with technical support of that particular product. So if you're interested in that, let us know, our support team, and we're happy to get that up and running for you. And again, if you have any questions for Deepa, I know she'd be more than willing to walk you through this a bit more in detail. Deepa, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just want to say thank you.
Great, thank you. Well, next up we have Matthew Nelson from Idealist Consulting, and he's going to share with us a nonprofit solution, I believe. So I'm going to let Matthew take it away and describe this in more detail. Okay, and Matthew, we think you might be on self-mute because we're not yet.
There we go. I think
there we go. Now we can hear you.
Thank you.
All right, great. Take it away, Matthew.
All right, appreciate that. So we work a lot with nonprofit organizations and work primarily in Salesforce, helping them increase their impact. But Conga Composer is something that we recommend to probably 90% of our clients. And a lot of foundation clients that we work with utilize a combination of Foundation Connect and Conga Composer. So if you'd like to advance to the next slide here. And this particular case study is talking about an arts organization that has a very complicated grants management process. So what they're able to do there is create the award, decline, or report requirement communications all around their program. And those are generated either one at a time through a point merge button or in bulk using the batch or quick merge links. And just to kind of dig into that one more, the quick merge is a functionality that allows you, an admin, to build a link that expedites and takes the manual selection process out of creating a batch merge. So that's really handy for organizations that have complex merge processes and allows automation of that so that the end user can generate a merge without having to understand or know the names of the underlying report or query or merge template. But one of the more complicated elements of the grant management process is creating dockets and panel review books, and those are typically 100-plus pages of grant applications that have been summarized for a group or panel reviewers to decide who's going to get and receive the grant. So what we do with Foundation Connect and Salesforce is utilize the standard campaign object for managing dockets, and it allows us to create a merge doc that combines data from up to 8 related objects off the campaign object. So there's lots of robust capabilities within Salesforce and Conga's integration with Salesforce. So Conga Composer not only pulls in the data, but also attachments from related records. So that can be PDFs, can be a variety of different documents throughout the system, but that's one of the more complex. But in addition to those, we have a lot of nonprofits that use Conga for donation acknowledgement and receipts. As I said before, a really robust tool that we recommend highly to our clients. And that's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have advanced that slide for you there quicker.
I didn't tell you too, sorry.
So, yeah, there is so very much that the nonprofit community gives to us, and I think it's really great that we have folks like Idealist Consulting who specialize in assisting those nonprofit organizations. And there are some really great tools that Conga offers, as Matt was explaining, to help nonprofits especially. They're not specifically designed for nonprofits, but we've found a few of our products that work particularly well for the sorts of things that nonprofit organizations are often doing, like Matthew mentioned the grant management and putting together those packets. If we have any nonprofit folks on the phone, we all know that that can be really, really time-consuming and very detail-oriented, so you can take out those manual copy-paste or data input points and streamline the process with Conga Composer, as Matthew explained, and as well the Conga Quick Merge, which again, as he said, takes out more of the manual process and just defaults a lot of those steps so you can run those things much more quickly and easily. So they are just a wealth of information, and if you have any questions about that, again, Matthew will be available and happy to answer your questions. Was there anything else you wanted to add on to that, Matthew?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. So next up we have Scott Adams from SalesPath Corporation, and I think he is ready to go. If you are, Scott, just give a shout and I will pass it over to you. Just let me know when you want me to click through to those next slides.
All right. I won't shout too loudly here then. So of our over 300 Salesforce customers that we have worked with, Probably over 50 of those we have worked with Conga for. We find it probably the most flexible tool that we work with. And in many cases, we have saved customers will come back with one little change and say, hey, that's just saved them 4 hours a day. So it's a very productive tool. We can do a lot with it. And probably the best thing about it you'll find is that Conga themselves are really great about listening to situations, use cases, and perhaps even adding new functionality based upon what our feedback back to them. So it was kind of tough to find one particular use case here because we had so many good ones, but I'll go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll go to where the use case we picked here. This particular situation was where we were working with a company that did factory automation software and hardware. So they would provide both the software and some of the systems on the shop floor for automating different manufacturing processes. So they sold their own software, professional services to go with that. In addition, they would sell some equipment that they OEM'd from various suppliers. So what we set up for them is in Salesforce, when they had an opportunity, they won the opportunity, they were generating the invoice directly from Salesforce and emailing it automatically to the customer with an email template with that as an attachment. A lot of our customers will generate invoices from Salesforce because they're a lot more flexible in terms of the layout of the invoice than what you'll find in most accounting systems and billing systems. For example, this customer needed to break down separately the professional services aspect of the invoice, the software, which in some cases a perpetual license, some cases a subscription license like Salesforce. In addition to that, to hardware with the separate sections for the maintenance and support. So these are fairly complex looking type of invoices. They're able to generate that, send it out automatically. But the real key part here was also at the same time using workflow, a Conga Composer workflow, it would generate up requisitions to go to each of the suppliers. So what they would do is based upon the products that are in that particular opportunity, it would look up to the product record, find out who the supplier is, and in the supplier's account record, find out who the contact is that is to be sent these particular purchase requisitions, and would automatically send each one of these different suppliers those requisitions electronically with they formed a PDF file generated by Conga. Interestingly enough, this was actually not a capability of Conga at the time. We did this a couple of years ago or 3 years ago. And but the folks at Conga did listen to what we're trying to do, and lo and behold, in a couple of weeks they came out with their workflow engine. And that accomplished this. And we have used it since then many times, as well as Conga Conductor, for automating multiple steps by people. So again, just with one click, they want an opportunity, all these things, the requisitions go out to the suppliers automatically, and the customer automatically gets the invoice. Thank you.
That is great, great solution. Thank you so much, Scott. I thought I had heard all of our stories of where the products came from because I've been here for 5 years, but I just learned that thanks to SalesPath, we have Conga Workflow, which is one of my favorite products. So kudos to you guys. If you're not familiar with Conga Workflow, as Scott was just explaining it, it's the ability to use Salesforce workflow rules to kick off a Conga process. So where they were using opportunity stage, and as immediately as that goes to a one status or stage, excuse me, that invoice and purchase requisition process goes into effect, and you can decide whether you want that delivered via email as they were doing. We also have the ability to send those via e-signature and so forth. So it's really handy, you know, based on a field update or any sort of workflow rule that you can kick off a Conga process. Just another sort of automation tool in your belt. And just like our batch processor, Conga Conductor, that we mentioned before, we do have a free 30-day trial of that. So if you guys are interested, please do get in touch with our support team, and we're happy to get that set up for you. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Scott?
I just want to say there's a lot of places and different ways we've used it, but Conga's always been very supportive. For example, a couple years ago, we were working with a client where they were using DocuSign and for electronic signature of the contracts, and we were generating the contracts to go out, pretty sophisticated method, using Conga there, and but they came up with we teamed them up with DocuSign, and within 2 weeks they actually had the DocuSign integration put together, ready to go for this customer. So, and we've used that now multiple times since.
Yeah, we really try to listen to customer and partner feedback. You know, that's how we get ideas for new features, and sort of our product roadmap develops organically that way. So if you all ever have an idea, you know, I can't promise that we'll put all of them into the product, but that's how we've gotten ideas, as Scott said, for things like Conga workflow and integration with other vendors like DocuSign. So we're always open to listening to those ideas, because that's where the best ones come from. You guys are using the product day in and day out in really varied ways, so that's really helpful to us if you let us know what you think of it and how we can improve it. I'm going to move on to our last presenter, which is Pierre Kaluzny from Sputnik Moment, and they are also a longtime friend and partner of Conga. I'm going to let Pierre explain a little bit more about what they are doing for their clients.
Thank you. Hi everyone, so my name is Pierre Kaluzny. I'm with Sputnik Moment. So we're Salesforce consultants. We've been doing Salesforce work for about 7 years, and probably as long. We've been working as long with Conga. So we've, you know, we're deploying Salesforce to our clients as well as deploying Conga, has worked hand in hand for us. So we work with nonprofit organizations and foundations, and for most of them, we find ourselves recommending Conga. A lot of time for helping with the generation of donation acknowledgement. So if you donate to a nonprofit organization today, and if this nonprofit organization is using Salesforce, there's a great chance that the thank you letter that you're receiving from them might be generated with Conga. So next time you get one of those, you know, you can think of that. But I'm not going to talk to you about this particular example today, because I thought it would be too easy, but instead I would talk to you about a different one that's equally as interesting. So this is, if you can go to the, thank you, next slide, perfect. So the client, or the type of client in question here is the foundation. So they use Salesforce for managing their grants, and they use opportunities for that. So their process is interesting. You know, all those grants are grouped together, you know, in a cycle, and they use campaign for that. And you know, those grants are initially reviewed by staff, but at some point, those grants need to be presented to a group of people, a group of board members. And it would be too easy if those folks had access to Salesforce, right? They would just go in Salesforce and have a look at those records, but they don't have access to Salesforce, simply because, you know, they are not full-time employees, and they are not working with the organization. You know, it's sort of their work tends to happen only a couple of times a year, so it does not justify the cost of licenses. So the challenge was, you know, how do we display, or how do we give them a recap of all the information, all the grants that have been submitted, without giving them access to Salesforce? And of course, because I'm part of this webinar today, the solution was to use Conga and to generate a document that would provide a summary of each grant. You know, the name of the organization, the CV, but also some historic information, such as, you know, have we given them money in the past, and how much, and what is the summary of their request. So we made that relatively easy for them. So think of, you know, the organization going to a campaign record, and as I show on the slide, there's a link right there on the record called, you know, in this case, docket section, that the user can click on, and you know, magically, you know, the document is generated. You know, one page for each grantee. So we have a list of all the grantees with their information that can be printed and delivered to the board member. And you know, and as you can imagine, you know, board members have a specific format they want to see the information, and so we were able to get that flexibility with Conga. And I guess that's the point that I want to make, sort of, or I want to highlight, you know, to end my my use case is, sometimes, we think of Conga just to generate, maybe an invoice or a specific document, specific document that we need to communicate to the outside world. But, you can think also of Conga as a way of, in some specific cases, replacing the Salesforce reporting tool. We can do a lot of things with Salesforce reporting, but sometimes we feel limited by how the data is being displayed, and this is a little bit of what we solved here. We could have displayed a view, we could have used a report, but the format would not have been as user-friendly as we would like it to be for the audience that we had to work with. So you can think of Conga also as bringing you that flexibility in formatting that we were able to use in this specific example.
Great. So it sounds like you guys were really able to fit a lot of flexible requirements, complicated requirements in a flexible nature for that particular client, as far as some Salesforce users and some not, and some particular format issues and those sorts of things. So that sounds like a really cool solution here.
Thank you.
So if anyone is not familiar, as Pierre mentioned, we typically do quite a bit of solutions that involve Salesforce reports. And what you all probably are familiar with is the ability to use Salesforce reports or SOQL queries to retrieve data that you may need in your document. But as Pierre mentioned, you can kind of use that same ability to replace in a way or massage the Salesforce report view. So we all know that Salesforce reports are great and we rely on them daily, but sometimes you just can't quite get all of the data you want into one report, or you have a C-level executive or somebody on your team that wants something in a very specific format. So oftentimes we'll use Conga to pull a bunch of reports from Salesforce and merge that data into Excel. You can have a multi-template sheet like Deepa showed before, or as Pierre and his team did, use a Word template. You can PDF that so it's non-editable, those sorts of things. So do try to think outside of the box when you're looking for ways to expand your Conga deployment, and think about reports, and do you have any that are sort of a pain in your side that you could maybe use Conga and make that a bit more automatic, or improve the formatting or sort of the presentation of that. We didn't have anyone talk about it today, but we do also use PowerPoint presentations as templates. So Excel and Word usually get a lot of the love, but we do have PowerPoint templates and PDF templates as well. So if you have government or bank forms, we all know PDF forms are really handy for that. And then if you do reporting or presentations, PowerPoint can be a great solution for that. And we have some really cool charting tools that come along with PowerPoint in case you're interested in doing dynamic charts. So just to wrap up, here's everybody who shared a solution with us today going in order. We had Tom and Dick from CRM Manager. As a reminder, they showed that really cool dynamic proposal where they were using Conga's ability to pull reports and display or hide sections of that proposal based on the opportunity products, I believe it was. And then Deepa from Halak Consulting showed us her Excel report as well as a rental agreement. So remember, the Excel report did that grouping not only by region but also by stage, and they also talked about using Conga Conductor so that they could send those in a batch rather than one at a time. Then we had Matt Nelson with Idealist Consulting, and he showed us his grant management solution that they had built for a nonprofit client, which was a great way to pull in a lot of different data into that one grant management tool. They also were using Conga Quick Merge to default a lot of those steps and make it easier for those users. Then we had Scott Adams. He showed us the automatic sending of invoices and purchase requisitions using Conga Workflow. So that was, they changed the stage to closed one, and then it would fire off that whole process. So very cool automatic solution there from SalesPath Corporation. And then finally, our last presenter was Pierre just a moment ago from Sputnik Moment, who talked about the grant summary and how they also did a bit of Salesforce reporting and the ability to share those documents with non-Salesforce users is a big win there. So if you weren't able to jot down any of this contact information, as Teresa mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we will send out all of this information afterward as well. And if you have any questions, please submit those and we will follow up with answers. Teresa's going to go into a bit more of that right now, so I'm going to pass it back to her.
Thanks, Shelley. So unfortunately, we kind of ran out of time today to answer any questions, and it looks like the audience was pretty quiet today, probably just observing and taking in all the information. But just did want to point out a couple of helpful resources for you guys as well. Our knowledge base is a really good resource to kind of just dig around and look for some answers you might be looking for. If you visit our website and go to the support page, you'll get access to our knowledge base. And if you simply search for the term useful Conga resources, this list of articles will pop up for you. We kind of just gathered these articles because we felt like they're some of the most useful articles we find people using. So they are helpful tools. So you might want to just check that out. And Shelley, can you just go to the next slide? And then this webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series. We hope to continue to keep kind of doing webinars like this with our alliance partners. So look out for information about that in the future. But every Tuesday, we usually rotate between topics of getting started with Conga Composer or useful Conga Composer parameters. And every other Wednesday, we try to tackle some advanced topics such as creating PowerPoint templates, Conga Composer and e-signature solutions, using SQL queries. So a lot of different options available. We do have a webinar archive that actually has a lot of these on this list here with a recording and FAQs and presentations you can check out. And then just for how you signed up for today's webinar, it'll show you, if you go to the webinar registration page, that'll show you a list of all the upcoming webinars for April. And we try to update that monthly so you guys have a month advance to get scheduled for those. But as always, thanks again for joining us today. We hope you found this useful. And thanks again to our alliance partners. It was really great to have you guys join us and just share some of your Conga use cases. So we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And as always, be sure to let us know what you think and have a good rest of your day. And we'll talk to you soon.